Hey y'all, it's Adore. I have been super sick with a sore throat, but I'm almost at 100%. Being forced to sleep rather than being able to work on videos right now has had me going crazy. Today, I'm going to show you how to configure your graphics settings for Division 2 to get maximum performance and quality out of the game, even on mid to low hardware. My current rig is running a top-of-the-line Intel 9900K processor, but unfortunately I only have a 1060 graphics card at the moment. If you have similar hardware to my own, then these settings should work absolutely perfectly for you without any additional tweaking. Alright, so as noted in my intro, this video is specifically for those of you who have a low to mid tier hardware setup. I have a 1060 video card, and I will note real quick that it is the ASUS Strix overclocked edition, which means it's overclocked from the factory. However, I did not do any additional overclocking, so it should be accurate for everything else. If you have any kind of 1060, as long as it's like the 6GB version, these settings should work absolutely perfectly for you. However, I'm going to also give you a few little tweaks that you can make if you are still struggling or having trouble. Alright, so in this first part, I'm just going to show you this is the medium preset that the GeForce Experience set me up as being optimal. And then I also am going to have the Adore preset compared between the two so you can get an idea of the actual quality. The thing is that the game did set me up as having mostly medium, and because it looked a little garbage in terms of quality, I decided to move that up to high. The problem with doing this with the main normal presets, of course, is that it turns on a lot of things that are very FPS intensive, so that when you turn it up to say high, very high, ultra, that kind of thing with any game, you're getting a lot of settings that may or may not actually have that much effect on FPS, but they then get turned on or turned off, things like that. So what I have then for you today is the Adore preset, and that is my own preset, which took a lot of time because I had to kind of turn off the game and restart and try different settings and all that, and it should make your game look as close as possible to Ultra while maintaining really high frame rates. So we're talking 79, 80 when you're running without any locked setup like a FPS lock and VSync. Of course, you may want to do that because otherwise you'll get the screen tearing, but otherwise you can turn those on and then you'll just have straight 60 FPS completely across the board. It should be 100% smooth. Again, there's a couple little settings I'm going to talk about that if you switch them and you're still having frame rate issues prior, they should make all the difference for you. So for the Adore preset, we have I'm going to put it up on the screen for you for your convenience, but I'm also going to read it to you. That way you can follow along on what settings you want to have. Shadow quality, you want to set to high. Spot shadows, you want to set to high as well. Spot shadow resolution, you want to set to high. Contact shadows, that should be all low. Resolution scale, which we'll come back to, set to 100 for now. Sharpening is a personal preference on how sharp you want the game to look. I set it to 7. Particle detail, you want to set to ultra. Volumetric fog, you want to set to medium. And just so you're aware, that medium really isn't that far off from what ultra actually looks like. Reflection quality, you want to set to high. Now for local reflection quality, I did experiment with turning this off, and there was not that much of an FPS difference between the two, so I would set it to medium. For vegetation quality, there has been a lot of talk about this one. A lot of people have said that vegetation quality really doesn't look that different from ultra down to say medium. So if you are having any FPS problems after using my preset setup, you can switch this to medium, and that would have an effect on the FPS as well. That would be one of the first ones that I would change, but again, we'll get to that in just a second. For now, set it to high. Subsurface scattering, you want to turn on. This is very important. Anisotropic filtering, you want to set to 16 times. Parallax mapping, again, a very important one you want to keep on, yes. Ambient occlusion, you want to set to high. Depth of field, it's kind of a personal preference, but I would keep it on. Object detail, I set this to 50. This is what I would recommend for you. If it's set anywhere else, I would set it down to 50. It just seems to be best for the smoothness of everything. Now with my particular preset, this next one, extra streaming distance, I set to 10. But if you're having any FPS problems, again, this is one of those settings that you definitely want to turn down, as it has a pretty significant effect on FPS. And this has a lot to do with memory, because this has to do with what actually gets drawn in the game. So with extra streaming distance turned down to say 5, things will pop in a little more, but you'll get better performance. Lens flares. A lot of these are personal preference. I would just keep it on. Vignette effect. Also personal preference. I would just keep it on. Water quality. I set this to high. Chromatic aberration. I keep on. For your projected texture resolution, you want to keep this at 512. And then, of course, for the high resolution sky textures, I didn't see a huge difference in FPS on this, so I would choose yes for this as well. And then terrain quality, which I think has a lot to do with making sure the game doesn't look garbage, I would keep this also set to high. Alright, so again, addressing the main ones that you might want to mess with if you're still having FPS problems after using my preset, I would start with resolution scale, changing it down from say 100 to 85. Even if you change it down to like 50%, I don't think you'll notice that much of a difference in actual quality. It's really hard to tell, but I would start with 85% as that one is even less of a change difference. And remember, we're going for a preset that's as close to ultra as possible, even on that low and mid tier setup. The next one that I might mess with, again, is going to be that extra streaming distance. I would set that to 5 instead of 10. It shouldn't make a huge difference in terms of the actual quality. Again, there's just a little more pop-in, but there's always pop-in in these games anyways, so you do have to deal with that a little regardless. If you have the memory, keep it at 10, but if you're having frame rate issues, set it to 5. And of course, the last one I'm going to mention is the vegetation one, which I already kind of went over, but basically from ultra down to medium, it's not that much of a difference. I like to keep it at high. Maybe it's just a thing in my head. I think I can tell the difference, but either way, I would change that one if you're having any issues. Well, that's the video, and I hope you really liked it. If you did, you can click the subscribe button right there. But don't forget to ring the bell, because if you don't ring the bell, then you won't hear from me very often. Sad face. Share this video everywhere and comment your thoughts down below. As always, like the video if you liked it, but if you didn't, there's a less happy button you can click as well. But you wouldn't want to click that and do bad things to me now, would you? As always, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Okay, bye-bye.